Welcome everyone to today's webinar. So this is the first in CPLEA's 2025-2026 webinar series titled Do I Need a Lawyer? Busting Legal Myths About Legal Help versus Justice Navigators. Before we continue on, the Center for Public Legal Education respectfully acknowledges that we are located across Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10 territories, and we respect the histories, languages, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continue to enrich our vibrant community. I also have to give a quick disclaimer, considering that we're talking about some legal topics today. So this presentation contains legal information and is not intended to be legal advice. Ironically, we're going to be talking about the difference between legal information and legal advice today. We'd also like to thank our funders for making this webinar series possible. So the Alberta Law Foundation, the Department of Justice Canada, and the Alberta Real Estate Foundation. You'll see there's two of us on the screen today, so I'll introduce myself, and then I'll turn it over to Shamsa to introduce herself. So my name is Jessica Steingard. I'm a staff lawyer at the Center for Public Legal Education Alberta, or CPLEA for short. And CPLEA is a nonprofit organization that serves all Albertans in helping them understand the law. So we produce free resources, whether it be websites, print material, videos, webinars like this one, in plain language to help Albertans understand their rights and responsibilities under the law and hopefully make decisions that can either prevent or deal with legal issues as they come up. So, like I said, we have free legal resources, and we'll be posting some links in the chat you'll see as we go. So yeah, watch the chat there and we'll post some links to some of our stuff as we go. So that's me. I'm Jessica from CPLEA, and I'm going to turn it over to Shamsa now to introduce herself as well.
Thank you so much, Jess. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us from across Alberta. My name is Shamsa Mistry, and I'm representing the Canadian Immigrant Women's Association, also known as CIWA. I'm the Wellbeing and Resiliency Department Manager. As an organization, we are dedicated to support immigrant, refugee, and newcomer women and their families to thrive and fully participate in the Canadian society. I am excited to share that our organization has officially transitioned from the Calgary Immigrant Women's Association to the Canadian Immigrant Women's Association. And currently, we are undergoing our brand transformation. At CIWA, we understand that navigating the legal systems can be overwhelming, particularly when language, culture, and complex processes create additional barriers. Each day, we work towards making this journey less intimidating and more accessible. Through family counselors, case managers, and justice navigator, we help individuals understand our clients' options, access legal information, and get connected to the right supports, whether that's legal representation or other pathways that can resolve issues effectively. And we are looking forward to this conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really hoping that between CPLEA and CIWA, we can bring these different perspectives of legal advice and legal representation, as well as the work of justice navigators. So that leads us into why we're here today. So what are we going to be talking about? Well, as the webinar name suggests, we're going to be talking about when legal help is appropriate. So actually seeking legal advice from a lawyer and when justice navigators can help. And so the first question you probably have is, well, who are these justice navigators that we're talking about? And justice navigators is a bit of a buzzword that's been used in the last few years, but it really describes work that has been ongoing for many, many years by many, many very, very knowledgeable folks. So at CPLEA, we define a justice navigator as any non-lawyer professional who helps Albertans with a legal issue. So it's a pretty broad definition, and it's meant to capture the valuable role that non-lawyers play in helping Albertans not only navigate the justice system, but also understand that they're having a legal issue, or give them valuable legal information to hopefully even prevent a legal issue from arising or becoming more of an issue. So we look at a justice navigator as everyone from a caseworker, a settlement worker, a case manager, a social worker, a librarian, a teacher, a counselor, really any non-lawyer who at some point in their job, it may be most of their work, it may be part of their work, is supporting Albertans who may be experiencing a legal issue. So we'll start with that. And really, the goal today is to help us understand what the role of a justice navigator is, and how they can support Albertans, and then when also it's important to seek legal advice. Shamsa, do you want to add to that?
No, that's great. I was just thinking that, this webinar will definitely make an attempt to clear that confusion that do I every time need to go to a lawyer for every little, legal related issues or questions that I have. And our attempt is to talk about, to define this role of justice navigators as well, and in what ways they can support. So that's the attempt for today with us.
Perfect. So the format we're going to take for today's webinar is we're going to be looking at, as the title suggests, some myths. So what are some things that we've heard, both Shamsa and myself in our work have heard from folks about when they need to get legal help. So we're going to work through a series of myths together and hopefully, as Shamsa said, provide some clarity or clear up any confusion that exists. So let's start with the first myth. And we kind of hinted at this one already, but the first myth is that I need a lawyer for any legal problem. And this is a myth, it's not true. You don't always need a lawyer. So lawyers are trained in the law. We have to go to law school. And then if we get called to the bar, we have to go through an articling process. And we are trained to help resolve legal issues. Lawyers can give clients personalized advice about what to do in that situation and can also represent them in court or in any other legal process. So you can help a lawyer to help you, you can hire a lawyer to help you resolve your whole issue. Some people will hire a lawyer, or as we say, retain a lawyer, and that lawyer basically assumes control of the situation. And they don't make decisions in a vacuum. Obviously, they're consulting with you as the client, but they really have that knowledge and that expertise to help guide you through the process, and hopefully come to a resolution at the end. But there's also other ways that you can work with a lawyer, and we've seen these become more popular in recent years, especially as the cost of hiring a lawyer increases and becomes maybe not as accessible for some folks. And so there's also a way to hire a lawyer to help you with some of your legal issue. So that's called a limited scope retainer. So you might hire them, for example, to help you draft the document to start your lawsuit called a civil claim or a statement of claim. But then maybe you're going to take the next few steps. And maybe you come back to that lawyer and you engage them at different parts in the process. But they don't assume control of your case the same way as if you'd retained them for the full issue. Important to note that lawyers are regulated by the Law Society of Alberta. So lawyers have to meet specific educational requirements and professional standards. Lawyers who take on clients must also carry a professional liability insurance specific for lawyers. And that's an insurance program that if a lawyer, say, makes a mistake, which sometimes happens, then the client has some recourse through that insurance program to receive some compensation for however the issue needs to be resolved going forward. So that's what separates lawyers is really that they're regulated. And anyone can go on the Law Society of Alberta website and go on the directory and double check whether the person holding themselves up to be a lawyer is actually a lawyer and is actually licensed to practice law in Alberta. So that is that is what lawyers can do when it comes to a legal problem. But are they needed all the time, Shamsa?
Thank you so much, Jess. So let's break down, this with an example. Sometimes legal information, that is related to filling forms or referrals, that can be done, and that help can be sought from a justice navigator. For example, at CIWA, a newcomer mother she came to us. She was in conflict with her spouse regarding parenting time and child support, and after their separation. And she assumed that she needed a lawyer, and she was overwhelmed with the cost and unfamiliar legal terms. Through CIWA's case management, we provided her with some legal information sessions. She received legal information about parenting agreements. We supported her, helping her to complete child support forms. She was referred to support counseling, and as a result, she was able to mediate for an agreed parenting time. Justice navigators that we have at CIWA, or case managers and counselors that we have at CIWA, are non-lawyer professionals who support Albertans experiencing a legal issue. They may be social workers, settlement workers, family counselors, case managers, or even intake workers for a community service, courthouse staff. They all can do and support with legal information navigating any of these issues. Over to you, Jess.
Thank you. So I love that example that you gave, Shamsa. And one of the things I want to that struck me in that example is also getting support with supportive counseling. And I think when we think of legal issues, we tend to think of, okay, if I need to work with a lawyer and I need to resolve this legal issue, but legal issues don't arise in a vacuum in our lives either, right? Like they impact other areas of our life. So I love how the role of a justice navigators in that case was not just providing support with legal information, which is different than legal advice, but also in maybe these wraparound supports that can also impact how that legal issue gets resolved, and maybe gets resolved in a more amicable manner between the parties than might otherwise have been possible. So
Yes, and
highlight.
all that, yes, all that is actually needed to arrive at that decision of what is it that they need to do, that action that they need to take.
Exactly. No, I love that. Okay, so we've decided that we don't actually need a lawyer for every legal problem, and that the role of justice navigators can be a valuable one in providing legal information, system navigation, forms, etc., and some of these wraparound services. So another myth we hear in this space is that lawyers give free advice if I just ask a quick question. That famous, I just have a quick question, I just need a quick answer. Well, I'll tell you for one thing, I did practice for a few years, and I'll say that there's no such thing as a quick question, usually, unfortunately. But I will say that some lawyers offer free consultations, and usually the purpose of that free consultation is to help you decide if you want to hire that lawyer to represent you further on, right? You want to get to know them, make sure that you can work with them, and that it feels like a good fit. Most lawyers, though, require some sort of formal retainer agreement and fees. And that's actually important from the lawyer's perspective as well, because as soon as a lawyer starts to advise someone, that person becomes their client. And as soon as they become their client, it activates these professional responsibilities that that lawyer has towards someone. So, that quick question you have for a lawyer at that, at the networking event, and you think, oh, I just want to ask, is this the case? Lawyers will often be hesitant, and for good reason, because they don't want to start that relationship and then suddenly there's all these ethical and professional standards that come with it. So that's one piece. So it's not often possible to ask a quick question, and lawyers will be hesitant to give free advice. But that's not to say that free advice isn't available in certain spaces. And Shamsa, do you want to elaborate on some of the situations where free advice is available?
Yes, certainly. So I think there are free legal clinics, and at CIWA, we offer this service for, I think, more than 30 years now. Once a week, we have lawyers coming to visiting us at CIWA, and for 30 to 45 minutes of free consultation is available to the clients who are with us at CIWA. These lawyers, we have, let's say, around 8 to 9 immigrant lawyers who are coming through Calgary legal guidance. We also have family lawyers who come and who visit us to at this legal clinic. And what they do is in that consultation time, when the clients are coming up with their questions where they really need to get some advice from the lawyer. So before they come to the clinic, they have met our case managers, they have gone through the counseling as well. So they have received some legal information. But here at the legal clinic, they meet the lawyer in that consultation time they have. And then what do these lawyers support them with? Obviously, they review their documents, they ensure the documents are accurate, they are meeting the compliance. They are also providing them, let's say, some notary services. They are there to either give them the advice that they need based on the time for consultation, and they are also there to refer them to the other community resources as well. Sometimes they may say that you need some legal referrals outside in the community. So if they can support, they would support them, or they make some referrals in the community. And then sometimes they come back to us, to our case managers, to further discuss the nuances or seek more information from us. But as you mentioned, there are these free legal clinics available, and CIWA has been doing this once a week for some time now.
Awesome. And I just wanted to clarify that the legal clinic that CIWA offers is for CIWA clients.
CIWA clients,
Yes.
yes.
So there are some free legal clinics across the province as well that offer services for all Albertans. Most of them have income eligibility requirements. So you have to meet a certain threshold or be under a certain threshold for household income in order to access those services. And again, at those legal clinics, lawyers are also offering 30 to 45 minutes of what we call summary legal advice. So they'll, as Shamsa said, discuss your legal issue, maybe refer you for next steps. So those are an option as well, like I said, depending on your income. And we'll post some links in the chat at the end. We have a page on our CPLEA website that lists some of those free services, as well as some services available where you do have to pay a fee. So because the point is that there are some free legal services available, but if you don't qualify for those, lawyers are not likely to just give free advice if you just have a quick question, but there are lots of ways to access paid services as well. And like I said, we'll post some of those links at the end. Okay, myth number 3. I can't do anything with respect to my legal issue until I hire a lawyer. And so we've already talked about this dynamic between having a lawyer and what they can do for you, take over your case or provide you with legal advice with respect to your case, but also this role of a justice navigator. And so having now explored this role of a justice navigator more, hopefully it's clear that you actually can do a lot before you hire a lawyer. If you need to get to the point of hiring a lawyer to resolve your issue, there's lots of steps that you can take beforehand. So whether that's gathering the documents that you're going to need to move forward, whether it's starting some of the court forms, depending on how comfortable you feel filling those out and dealing with those. There's also lots of government agencies and tribunals or third-party tribunals that you can access on your own. So for example, if your issue is a human rights complaint, and you have to go to the Alberta Human Rights Commission to make your complaint. That's not a process that you necessarily need a lawyer to help you with. You can just apply by yourself without a lawyer. And so whether you need to access those on your own or with the help of a justice navigator. If you're already working with someone in a community agency, they may be able to provide you with support to help you move through that process and feel confident moving through that process without the help of a lawyer as well. So there are certainly situations, and I guess one of the points we want to stress is justice navigators don't replace lawyers, but they can also provide some supports that maybe make it so that you can do things, to help yourself or just become more confident or knowledgeable about your situation before you maybe need to access a lawyer at a later point. Okay, our 4th myth is we're talking about this role of lawyers versus justice navigators. So our 4th myth is that justice navigators are basically lawyers. And I'm going to turn it right over to you, Shamsa, to get us started on this one.
Well, they definitely are not lawyers, but they are the ones who navigate, legal issues for you with you. We all know, and it's a truth, it's a reality that when you are in these legal issues and challenges, the first thing that you want to do is find someone who you can talk to and who you trust. I think trust is building that reliance, alliance is so important. And that's where you look for those people who you can trust, who understands you. And most importantly, with immigrant communities, it is the language in which they can communicate. I would say that justice navigators, our case managers, and our counselors, they do that role. They play that role. They are there to build that relationship with the clients when they are dealing with these legal issues. They are there to listen to them, to understand, speak in their first language most of the times, so that they understand their culture, they understand where they are coming from, and what is their understanding of these legal issues, and accordingly provide that support to them. So I would say it is the support which is more in culturally responsive way in their first language. And sometimes there are processes which needs to be navigated and they are in English, so you need some translation. That's what these justice navigators do. They support them not only in terms of translating those resources, but also help them understand what it means conceptually here in Canada. I think that is also very critical to navigate systems, to understand those information. And we also know that sometimes there is also challenges with digital literacy. Sorry, they may not even, they're not able to navigate this digitally, have access to those websites or download those forms or print those forms and make their way forward. So I think that is the role the navigators, the case managers would play. And I would say that even though their support may be limited, but it is more to ensure that there is a culturally responsive support for them and there is access that whatever access they need is available.
Awesome, thank you. I love how you highlighted that culturally responsive and that language support as well. Absolutely. And I do want to touch on this. Like we've talked about how justice navigators are non-lawyers, and you did mention like their role does have limits. So I think it's time we kind of maybe build on what some of those limits are. So justice navigators can give legal information. So they can tell you general information about the law and legal processes. So, for example, in Alberta, family laws these are the family laws, and this is what they say about parenting time or getting a divorce. But what they cannot do is they can't give you legal advice. And that's where someone, a lawyer only, because that's who can give legal advice, and that's where a lawyer would actually apply the law to your specific situation. So, a justice navigator can tell you generally what the law says about a topic, but a lawyer is the only one who can actually tell you what to do about that situation and give you advice. Um, Justice navigators also cannot usually represent you in a legal proceeding. For example, if you have to go to court, they may come with you, accompany you, and be a support for you, but they usually can't speak on your behalf. And they also can't prepare legal documents such as forms used in court. So they may help you find the form or tell you what it says. But for example, if you have to write an affidavit to be used in court, they can't write that affidavit for you and tell you what should go in that form. They can simply tell you, what the form is used for and what information generally goes in that form. So just some clarity on the limits of a justice navigator's role. So while they do have they can offer a wide range of supports, they themselves, and it's good for those of us using justice navigators to also be aware of what the limits of the role are as well. And that really protects everyone. That protects the justice navigator because they don't carry that professional liability insurance that lawyers carry that can help clients if they make a mistake. So that's one reason. And it also helps justice navigators from maybe making their client situation worse, unintentionally, but that can happen, right? If their knowledge doesn't extend as far as a lawyer's, then they may accidentally do something that might worsen their client situation. And it also, then in that case, it also protects the client as well, right? The client, it's important for them to understand the boundaries of the role. So I wholeheartedly agree with Shamsa. In times of stress and when issues come up, we're going to turn to someone you trust, and that can often be a justice navigator. And they're going to do their best to support you within their limits. And really, the one important thing they can do, as Shamsa's mentioned already, is they can refer you to further legal supports as necessary, including telling you sometimes, you know what, you really need to go talk to a lawyer about this, and and they can provide you with the best advice going forward. Um, so there's four on the distinction between a justice navigator and a lawyer. Okay, let's move on to the fifth myth. So justice navigators can't really help me with a legal issue. So this, well, we've talked a lot about this already, and hopefully have already provided some clarity that yes, absolutely, justice navigators can provide value support when it comes to a legal issue. The most important role of a justice navigator here at CPLEA, we look at it in three functions. One is to help a client identify that what they're experiencing is a legal issue. Oftentimes clients will come in and they'll have, this is the narrative of what's happening in their life. And they don't realize that some of those issues actually engage the law, and they have rights and they have responsibilities. And so that's an important role of a justice navigator. The second one, as we've talked about, is to share valuable legal information. So sometimes having a little bit of knowledge on the topic can help you make decisions for yourself about what to do next. And then third is refer them for more legal help. And whether that be referring them to a legal clinic, referring them to a more experienced justice navigator, referring them to a lawyer, those are all different referrals that a justice navigator can make. Shamsa?
Jess, I was just thinking, you did cover a few things and we've been talking about it, but just for the sake of our listeners, I was thinking of clubbing it into five messages when it comes to how they can help. So let's say they help in systems navigation. They accompany as and when needed. Whenever there is a requirement to support our clients, to accompany them to the court, they are there to accompany. They provide emotional support in the entire process in terms of counseling, talking to them, listening to them, and trying to support them and help them to hold themselves during that situation. Number four, as you mentioned, connecting them to resources. There is so much out available in the community as well, and CY is always trying to collaborate and see how we can build those connections for our clients, so refer them. And then last but not the least, providing that culturally responsive support in their language, as and when needed, and trying to understand and navigating them through their cultural understanding as well. So I think that's how we can easily define the justice navigator's role when it comes to legal issues.
No, that's perfect. I like those five really specific supports that a justice navigator can offer. Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to our next myth here. Justice navigators can't really help unless they already have a lawyer. I think we've dispelled that one already as well by saying, there's times when a justice navigator can help you before you retain a lawyer. Maybe they can, help you, like we've said, help you identify that it is actually a legal issue. Here's some of the rights that you have, and maybe you do need to go talk to a lawyer. Justice navigators can help you even if you have a lawyer. Like maybe, as Shamsa pointed out, providing some of that emotional support or providing you with that confidence that you need to deal with the legal issue, even if you have a lawyer who's, more or less driving the bus for you. And justice navigators can help if you decide not to engage a lawyer at all for your legal issue. Maybe system navigation and information and being pointed to the right forms is all that you need, and that you have that confidence and ability to deal with it yourself from there on out. So no, you don't. Justice navigators can help whether you have a lawyer or don't have a lawyer. Anything you'd like to add on that one, Shamsa?
That's great. We can
Okay.
go to the next. Thank you.
Okay. So next legal myth. Legal clinics or justice navigators can solve my problem completely. And while we all want someone to come in and help us resolve our issues, and that's perfectly natural to feel that way, as we talked about before, justice navigators do have some boundaries within their roles. So they are limited to giving you legal information. They cannot advise you on what steps to take, or what the outcome of your case might look like. And so they can give you support and information to potentially help you resolve your issue, but they cannot assume control of the situation and represent you or make decisions for you the same way that a lawyer would. So if you do need further legal support, then information and the navigation systems that Shamsa described, then reaching out to a lawyer would be a great next step for you. Okay, this is a big one. I can't, the next myth. I can't get legal help because I can't afford a lawyer. And this is one that we hear all too much in our work, and I'm sure Shamsa, you hear it in your work as well. Um, so I'll start. I have already talked a little bit about how lawyers charge for some of their services. So we talked about there are some free legal services in Alberta. Each service does have eligibility requirements that you have to meet, usually based on household income. If you are looking into options and you want to see if you qualify, it's best to reach out to that legal clinic directly. Again, we'll post a link in the chat near the end about with a page of all the clinics in Alberta. As I said, some lawyers offer limited scope retainers, so they'll help you with some parts of your issue. Sometimes this is also called legal coaching. So they'll provide you with support behind the scenes for a very specific purpose, but they don't actually assume control of your case the same way as if you were to retain a lawyer. And then some certain lawyers also are offering more and more services at a flat rate. So they charge a flat rate for a bundle of services rather than a fee based on how many hours it takes them to actually do the work. So we see this a lot when it comes to making, for example, if you wanted to make a will, power of attorney, and personal directive, lawyers will often charge a flat rate for creating those three documents rather than, the hourly rate that they would charge for other services. If you buy or sell a house, for example, lawyers will also usually charge a flat rate for doing that work. But we understand that lawyers can be expensive nonetheless, even if you're engaging them for a small part of the work. If you do have to pay for a lawyer, it can be expensive. And so that's why we want to highlight the role of justice navigators, not to, we're not talking about justice navigators and lawyers as these competing entities, but really to show how you can receive support in different ways if you're experiencing a legal issue. So as we talked about, justice navigators can also play a valuable role and maybe lessen that financial burden. If you do have to go talk to a lawyer, and you have to pay for some of their services, if you have someone else who's giving you that information and that support, then maybe you can make better use of your lawyer's time as well, which may have hopefully a lower effect on on the bill. Shamsa, anything to add on that one?
Yes, I was just thinking, when we see clients at CIWA, sometimes we also walk with them to start from very basics to understand what do we mean when we say legal help? Because when you're looking for legal help, sometimes it is also as simple as trying to understand what is my need? What is my problem first, or what is the issue that I'm dealing with? Is this something related to immigration? Is this something related to family issues, or do I need to see or consult a family lawyer or an immigration lawyer? And nowadays you have some complex situations as well, where there are layers and layers of our legal issues as well. So I think the it's not that you just have to first think of the lawyer, but you can work with justice navigators to understand what is it that you need. Second is, once you understand what do you need, what are the things available for you to access through the public sources, like CPLEA? What is it that I need to understand more for my situation? And I think that is what the case managers and the justice navigators are trying to do. And so if you just break your own issues and problems, legal issues that you have, then it would be easy to see that these are the free services. Legal navigators and case managers are available, in the community. CIWA has their own, availability for their clients where we are trying to support. So affordability for a lawyer comes at a later stage when you have understood your own legal situations with the help of navigators. And the last piece I would say is also a lot of immigrants, when they come to CIWA as well, we all come from different cultures. And there are so many things culturally we understand, perceive differently. I think for those clarity and for those understanding, the first step is to have the legal navigators and the case managers and case workers to support you with those steps, layer them out, and then of course, we have other resources available for lawyer services as well.
Excellent. I love how yeah, needing a lawyer can sometimes is often comes into the equation, but where it comes into the equation, it can be a lot later than people might assume. And breaking down your situation and understanding it first, not only helps you be more efficient when it comes to when you actually need to engage legal services, but it just makes you more aware of what's going on as well and understand your situation. So excellent. Okay, kind of piggybacking on that, and especially Shamsa and the work that you do at CIWA, another myth we hear is that it can't get legal help because they don't speak English either well or at all. And I'll let you elaborate on that one.
Thank you so much. Yes, I did touch upon this earlier as well. So, justice navigators, case managers, they do support with our clients' first language as and when needed. For example, at CIWA, we have our staff. They come from different cultural backgrounds. They speak different languages, more than 50 languages they speak. And what happens is when you have the clients expressing their concerns in their own language, someone who is listening to them in their own language, supporting them with the translation of the legal information that is available, or translating for them the forms and the processes as well. Because we know that legal processes can be very complicated sometimes, and on top of it, it's not in your language that you would understand. So the justice navigators and case managers, they would support in translating. They will not be filling the form for you, but yes, they will be definitely supporting you in translation of these forms. We also have lawyers who speak different languages, so we keep a record of all these lawyers who speak different languages other than English. And when there is a need for our clients to see a lawyer, we also refer them to the lawyers who speak their language, who would understand their culture. And as I said, that there are a lot of these situations where they might bring some documents to us, and they request us to explain what this documentation is all about. And I think that is the service the case managers, justice navigators in the community and at CIWA, we would provide that.
Absolutely. And I do want to add on when you're saying that there's lawyers who speak other languages, just as there's just navigators who speak other languages, there are lawyers, like you said, who speak other languages.
Yes.
And the Law Society of Alberta's lawyer directory, which is available for free on its website, anyone can access it. It also allows you now to filter lawyers not only by the location and the different practice areas, but also by the languages that they speak. And so it can be a tool as well if you are looking for a lawyer who speaks a certain language, that you can use that tool to help you navigate to a specific lawyer. So just wanted to highlight that directory as well. Okay.
And
Yeah.
Jess, I just thought we would also inform the listeners that they are also entitled to a translator if they are in court and they do not understand English. That is
Mhm.
also a provision available for those who would need translation support.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to go through a legal process and not understand what's going on around you. Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. We have a couple more one more myth left. So our last myth is that lawyers cannot be trusted. And I say this as a lawyer myself. But we know that sometimes lawyers don't always have the best reputation in the community. And whether or not that's deserved, I'm not going to comment on that. But what I'll say is that, some people see lawyers as gatekeepers to the legal system, or too expensive, or high society, or arrogant and judgy. And I would say television shows don't necessarily help with that reputation. A lot of the legal dramas kind of play into that a little bit as well. But your experience with a lawyer, either here or if you've come from somewhere else, may influence your opinion of lawyers as well, or not just your experience, but if you've had a close family member or friend engage with the legal system, certainly their experience will affect your opinion of the profession as well. So, like I had noted, lawyers must meet educational and professional requirements to practice law in Alberta. Doesn't mean that we're all perfect, but the profession is heavily regulated and must follow laws created by the government of Alberta and a very strict code of conduct as well. Lawyers do play an important role in the legal system. As we've talked about, they can help, they have specific knowledge of the law and can help a client understand how the law applies to their specific situation and actually guide them through to resolution. That's what lawyers are tasked to do. Um, and so really offer that customized support when a legal issue arises. But as we've talked about today, they're not the only players in the legal system. And part of the work that we're doing at CPLEA right now as well, in some of our other programming and the work that CIWA does is highlighting the roles of other folks in the justice system who can provide valuable supports, including engaging you with a lawyer when appropriate to do so. So, depending on your situation, a justice navigator may be all the support you need, but in lots of situations, it is necessary to also get support from a lawyer. But a justice navigator can help navigate you towards the appropriate legal supports, and also hopefully help you understand your situation before you get there as well. I will say there are lots of situations where speaking with a lawyer is a very good idea. So they know the law very well. They can help you understand your rights and also assert your rights. It's not always easy to assert our rights against others, and that is the role that lawyers can play. So, yeah, Shamsa, anything else to add on that one?
I think you covered it,
Okay.
and we are very happy to receive the supports from the lawyers on our weekly legal clinic. I think they really, with their consultation, they really do the last bit where they give advice in terms of what would work for them, and which we are very grateful to have that partnership.
Okay. So in summary, um, so just to kind of summarize what we've talked about today. So lawyers can give you personalized legal advice, represent you in court, negotiate settlements on your behalf, and prepare legal documents for you. And that is the role that they're tasked with in our legal system. Um, Justice navigators, on the other hand, can explain legal processes and options, direct you to the right forms for your situation, connect you to government programs or community supports, and also refer you for further legal support, whether that be free legal clinic, representation by a lawyer, etc. And so again, we're not talking about justice navigators and lawyers as these competing entities, but really they're things that can work together and go hand in hand, and each has its different place in the justice system. So a handy way to think about it is that justice navigators are the roadmap and they have the travel tips. So you can, go to your favorite blogger for all their travel tips. And that's what they do for the legal system. Whereas lawyers they're the drivers of the bus. And so when you need someone to actively represent you, it's a lawyer that can do that for you. Shamsa, do you have any final summary thoughts on this topic
I
as we
think
start
that
to
was
wrap up?
a great summary to conclude this.
Perfect. Okay, well, a few housekeeping items. We don't want to leave you with nothing here. So, um okay, I see there's one question in the Q&A. Shamsa, do you want to answer that one, like type an answer out for that one?
Yes, I'll do
Okay,
that.
perfect. Thank you. Like I said, we shared a bunch of links in the chat. So if you want to stay in touch with CPLEA further, like I said, we have free resources about various different areas of the law. If you go to our website, cplea.ca, you'll find there's a little grid on the homepage that tells you about all the different areas we have information on, and it'll lead you to some different resources on those different topics. We have a monthly e-newsletter that we send out with updates on our new resources, or any changes in the law or upcoming events. So we invite you to subscribe to that if you haven't done so already. And again, the link is in the chat. It's cplea.ca/subscribe. And we're on social media. So give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Our handle is CPLEA Alberta. We also invite you to connect with CIWA. So we've posted the link for CIWA's website in the chat. They have a contact form available as well on the website that you can fill out to access services. And also, we've put the email for reception. So just the general email for CIWA in the chat as well if you'd like to contact them for more information. We have a handy takeaway document that you can reference that talks more about today's topic, which is really boils down to what's the difference between legal information and legal advice. So CPLEA has a tip sheet available. That link is in the chat. It's a PDF. So you'll see it under the more information post there. And CPLEA is also in the process of developing a Justice Navigator training program. So if any of you on the call today are Justice Navigators yourselves, CPLEA is working on creating a program with some foundational legal knowledge to hopefully support you in your work. So that program we're hoping to launch it, we're scheduled to launch it in the spring of 2026, but we've posted a link to our info page about that program on our website. We've talked about that there's free or for a fee or paid legal services in Alberta. We've posted a link to a page on CPLEA's website, cplea.ca/legal help, that lists the legal clinics in Alberta and some other legal resources as well that you might find helpful. And finally, we've talked a little bit about wraparound supports as well. 211 is a great resource. They connect resources across the province. So you can always contact 211, go to their website, you can call 211, you can text 211, and get information about supports in your area, whether it's legal supports or other types of supports as well. So wanted to leave you with a few of those resources. Shamsa, any final thoughts before we?
No, I think it's all about getting to know about legal information and legal advice. That's the key to cracking legal issues.
Absolutely. I see there's one question in the chat which I can address quickly before we sign off here. And that's, what kind of education do Justice Navigators have? And the answer is it varies. Some Justice Navigators are counselors or teachers or librarians or social workers, and so have specific training in those areas. Others are settlement workers, case managers. It really depends. It depends on the space in which that Justice Navigator is working. But Justice Navigators are not themselves a regulated profession. So it's gonna depend on the type of work that they're doing specifically. Okay, well, we'll leave it there then for today. Thank you so much for spending your lunch hour with us. We do have a quick survey we invite you to fill out to tell us how you felt about today's session. So again, we'll post that link in the chat. It's just a quick 30-second survey. I think there's like 4 questions. Tell us how we did and if there's any other topics you're interested in learning more about. But other than that, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, Shamsa, for joining us today and for sharing your perspective in your agency's work as Justice Navigators. And our next webinar is in 2 weeks, so we invite you to join us then as well. Have a good day, everyone.